So we have another Marvel extravaganza. The next big outing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. The only one in this series, the only one in this cinematic universe that actually brought a tear to my eye. It truly did. What's up, everybody, and welcome to my review of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Thank you so much, guys, for clicking in. I really do appreciate it. In the wake of King T'Challa's death, the people of Wakanda fight to protect their home from powerful enemies and world powers. Now, this is something that, of course, I was anticipating. This is something I was curious about, especially knowing that the main guy that played Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, had died because of a disease. I think it was cancer or something like that. It was bad. He's been fighting with it for a while, and whenever I heard of his passing, I was like, damn, what are they going to do now? And I guarantee you, it was very challenging. It was very challenging for the filmmakers and the crew behind this to move forward to try to figure out where they were going to do and what they were going to do. And I was very curious to see how they would handle it. And they handled it perfectly. As I've said on this channel, I've said it. I haven't said it enough, I feel like. But I've been a Marvel cinematic fan since day one, since 2008. Iron Man. Some weaker than others, Thor, Love and Thunder, but others that has been great. So what did this fall under? Was it good? Was it bad? Let's find out and start with the positives for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. The way they handled T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman's character, the way they handled that was awesome, was just perfect. As I said, I'm pretty sure director Ryan Coogler had quite a big hole to fill, especially with the untimely passing of Chadwick Boseman. I guarantee you the filmmakers behind this, especially director Ryan Coogler, was stressed all to hell over what they were going to do, how they were going to handle this. There was rumors on whether or not they was going to recast the part. There was debates and there's discussions. The way that they handled this, the direction that they went with, I think it fitted pretty well. Did it feel a little empty? Yes, of course. But the way they handled it, it was done perfectly. And this is the only one in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that actually made me tear up. Yeah, there was some that gave me a sense of ooh and wow and ah, Avengers Infinity War. But this is the only one, that's actually made me tear up. None of the others have made me tear up. And I'm telling you, the way this movie starts off, there was some crying. There was some sniffing. There was some all around effective. It's just the way they handled this, and it was done very well. The audience that I went and seen this with, I heard a lot of sniffing. You can definitely tell that, okay, yeah, so far so good. And that was only in the first 5 minutes. And the way they played it off, it didn't feel like characters mourning T'Challa, another character. It felt like actors mourning Chadwick Boseman. Because they gave you this sense of they're actually mourning the actor, not the character. That just made it better to me. Like I said, it wasn't like a character mourning another character. It didn't feel like that. It felt like on screen, the actors in their characters were mourning the actor, not the character. And that right there tells you something. It just tells you that they've pretty much done it right. So far, again, the first 5 to 10 minutes. Again, it just brought a tear to my eye. And that's the first time in this cinematic universe that that's ever happened. But the handling of this, the handling of that alone, great call. Not to mention the jokes. Oh man, they were timed just perfectly. And I can't talk about this without comparing Thor, Love and Thunder. That one was just so heavy. With Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it was done right. The jokes landed well. It was timed just perfectly. It gave you a chance to collect. It gave you a chance to actually figure out, okay, I can laugh at this without it being too silly. And that's what Black Panther Wakanda Forever actually did. Unlike Thor Love and Thunder, which caked it on something fierce. I mean, they caked it with icing, chocolate frosting, and all sorts of other stuff with that film. But in this, they definitely made up for that. And that was mostly between Letitia Wright, and I'm just going to call her the Walking Dead girl, Michonne. I can't pronounce her name. But them two was actually pretty well done. I mean, the jokes between those two, which is where it mostly, happened, it was actually done really well. They played off each other really well. And I forget the other girl that, the one that they were trying to save, where the villains was trying to kill because she was like some sort of scientist. Like, even with her, all three of them, that's where the comedy worked the most. I mean, this whole entire film, they handled that portion really well. And they really toned it down like 90% of it, especially compared to Thor Love and Thunder. They really knew what they were doing for Wakanda Forever. Like I said, they didn't take it on too harsh. They didn't lay it on too thick. It was just right. It just rolled off of the characters easily in this one. Easier in this one. Winston Duke, who was Baco in this, he was great. I really wish he was in it more because he's definitely not in it as much as you'd want him to be. He's one of those actors that's kind of becoming well known to me. I loved him in Us. I liked him in the first Black Panther. But his character, I liked his character. I wish he was in it more. I was debating on whether to put that in a negative or not, but I figured, he was actually good when he was on screen, so it was the point. But, whenever he was on screen, I was like, let's see more of him. But unfortunately, you don't get much of him. But when he does show up on screen, yeah, he's pretty funny. Yeah, again, with the comedy, it was just right. Duke, he's pretty cool. I like him as an actor. And Angela Bassett was great. I thought this was her best performance yet. Emotions ran high, such empowerment. And the action and special effects in Wakanda Forever was actually done pretty well. One of my biggest issues of the first film was there's this whole final showdown scene between Killmonger and Black Panther that looked so silly. It looked like something straight out of a video game. Also, the same treatment they did in Spider-Man 3. And it just looked so cheesy, so silly. It didn't feel like the effects was handled properly. It looked like they didn't have enough time to finish. But with Wakanda Forever, they definitely made up for that. It looked really good in terms of the camera motion, and there's a bunch of slow motions as well that made the effects feel even grander, and it was more effective, and it was just all around done better. Like I said, the first film, just that final showdown, it just looked so silly. It was kind of hard to watch. You literally felt like you were in a video game in a way. But with Wakanda Forever, it was done so much better. And it looked so much cleaner, so much nicer. And it's just all around better for what this film was, for the sequel. Of course, this movie was shot in 3D. I didn't go to 3D because I pretty much gave up on 3D years ago. So there's a bunch of shots that really let you know that this movie is 3D. Even though you're watching it in 2D, I don't think that took away from it though. Even though it was shot in 3D and just a lot of the shots would jump out towards the camera, I still think it was effective nonetheless. The look and feel of this film was aces. It was pretty cool to look at. It was pretty beautiful to look at. It looked great, great camera work, lighting, and the tone. The only grievances, the only negative I have is as followed. The narrative. It felt a little scattered. It felt a little messy. There's this whole thing in the second act where I felt like it could have easily been written out. It could have easily been cut out. I felt like they were kind of pushing the envelope there. It was nothing that pissed me off too much. But because of that, this film felt a little sluggish with its pacing. The film runs about 2 hours and 41 minutes. I really felt like it didn't really need to be that long. If 20 to 25 minutes was cut out, that would have been perfect. But I felt like this movie kind of pushed the envelope with its runtime. And again, that's based on the narrative that they chose to go with, especially by the second act. And it just, again, it just made it feel sluggish, a little slow. Like I said, I could have just dealt with 20 to 25 minutes being chopped away. Just very easily could have been cut out. And last but not least, the backstory that they gave the villain, I didn't feel like it was quite convincing enough. And this adds on to what I said about the narrative, about how this movie really shouldn't have been as long as it was, that a lot of it should have been trimmed out. The backstory that they gave the villain, it just wasn't convincing enough for me to believe that the motivation that this guy has as the reason why he's doing what he's doing, it didn't really give me that plausible of a reason. I mean, at least with Killmonger in the original movie, you felt more for that character than you do the villain for this film. Because the villain in this film, the way that they presented him and his motivations and all that, it didn't get that much of a rise out of me as much as I'm sure Ryan Coogler was hoping. I really don't care about, what he's gone through, because it's really not too bad in the sense of his all-out revenge status, and it just, the way it played out, it just wasn't convincing enough for me. Again, with Killmonger in the first one, I believed him and his backstory more than I do the villain in Wakanda Forever. They didn't give him that much of a strong backstory for me to believe anything to why this man is doing what he's doing and why. They could have made it a little better, which probably would have made the narrative a little less messy. But because of that, it just added on to why the narrative is so sloppy and why this movie feels kind of sluggish. You have all these scenes to where they're supposed to be like these dramatic, drawn-out scenes, and comparing to the Batman, which came out earlier this year, at least with that film, because they talk a lot in that one too. It's more narrative, it's like character-driven. At least with that one, you're waiting for something to happen. It's more dramatic feeling. But in Wakanda Forever, it's just, again, it just feels sloppy. Because of that whole backstory thing, it's like they didn't give us something strong enough. They didn't give us anything, for us to digest more to what the movie was trying to tell from these villains. And it just, again, it just wasn't really that strong enough. And it didn't really make me care that much. Which, again, bad narrative. It just wasn't that strong enough, and I felt like if they'd had made it, a little better than what they presented, then the movie probably would have benefited a little bit more. But in the end, guys, the film was great. I had a definite good time with this. I had fun with this. Other than the narrative and the pacing, it was a happy accident. So, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, what was your thoughts on it? Have you seen this yet? Was this your favorite Black Panther movie? Did you find any entertainment value of this? Was this your favorite MCU movie all around? Or do you prefer the first Black Panther, or was this not one of your favorite MCU movies? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, share this video, and make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.